Situation Room, where news and information from around the world arrive in one place simultaneously. Happening now, the president nominates a close friend and a colleague to fill a crucial seat on the U.S. Supreme Court. Mr. Bush knows Harriet Miers well, but she's a virtual stranger to most of us. We'll go behind the scenes over to the White House to see why the president picked Miers. Will this nomination provoke an all-out battle, or will Miers sail through the Senate like John Roberts? We'll go live to Capitol Hill to see if a fight's forming. And this first Monday in October finds a new Chief Justice over at the Supreme Court. John Roberts takes over just in time to oversee some key cases, from abortion to assisted suicide. I'm Wolf Blitzer. You're in the Situation Room. And we're standing by to see a boat come up from the water. That would be the Ethan Allen. 47 passengers were aboard that boat. One captain was aboard the boat. 20 bodies have now been recovered. 27 passengers survived, plus the captain. We're expecting in the next few hours that capsized boat in Lake George, New York, that's in upstate New York, north of Albany, to be raised, to come up from the water. The NTSB, the National Transportation Safety Board, is on the scene trying to determine what happened, as well as state and local officials. Will stay with that story and bring you live developments as they happen, including the raising of the Ethan Allen. Now our top story this hour, the Roberts Court. As the new Chief Justice oversees a new session with hot-button issues, will the new nominee get to replace retiring Justice Sandra Day O'Connor? Presidents pick a White House counsel, Harriet Miers. She's a Bush loyalist and a longtime lawyer, though she's never been a judge. Miers headed the search for potential Supreme Court picks, even as the president was eyeing her as a nominee. Senate Republicans say they like what they see in Miers, although some conservative groups are now complaining Miers doesn't necessarily measure up to their ideological standards and their hopes. Democrats hope they've been presented with a mainstream candidate, but many see an empty page instead of a track record, and they're vowing close scrutiny during the upcoming Senate confirmation process. The new Chief Justice, John Roberts, may set the tone for the court for decades. His court is already at work on a docket full of important cases, ranging from abortion to the death penalty. Let's begin our coverage involving the new nominee, Harriet Miers. She's a White House insider, a longtime lawyer for and a supporter of the president. For some details, let's head over to our White House correspondent, Suzanne Malveaux. Suzanne?
Well, Wolf, really the focus now here at the White House is essentially to sell the president's pick. That is exactly what White House Counselor Dan Bartlett was just doing within the last hour or so. We spoke with him, and essentially he addressed the one thing that we find so surprising in this situation. That is the fact that it may be harder to sell this candidate to the Republicans than to the Democrats. It was vintage President Bush in choosing Harriet Miers to the Supreme Court.
I've known Harriet for more than a decade. I know her heart. I know her character.
Aides say the president's White House counsel is someone Mr. Bush can trust, feels comfortable with, who's given him legal advice since his days as Texas governor. Sunday night, Mr. Bush officially offered Miers the job over dinner with the First Lady in the White House residence. Miers was in charge of the search committee established to help the president find his Supreme Court nominee. But White House aides say over the summer, during Mr. Bush's search to fill John Roberts' position, the president began to consider Miers as a possible candidate.
There was a separate process, unbeknownst to Harriet Miers herself, that vetted her and put her through the very same steps that we expect of all of our judicial nominees.
The president had his first sit-down with Miers as a potential candidate 12 days ago. As the president rolled out his nominee, the White House braced itself for the expected criticism, such as the fact that she has no experience as a judge.
Justice Rehnquist himself came to the Supreme Court without prior experience on the bench. And I'm proud to nominate an outstanding woman who brings a similar record of achievement in private practice and public service.
And Wolf, there are already some Democrats as well as some conservative Republicans who are calling into question her very qualifications, whether or not she should even be up for this job. Wolf?
Well, on that note, we're hearing the word cronyism not only from the left, but from the right as well. What are they saying at the White House?
Well, Wolf, you know, you're specifically hearing it from the conservative groups, the ultra-conservatives, Public Advocate being one of those groups, saying that it smacks of cronyism here. The White House is saying, look, that they expected that charge, that they are just going to put forward her qualifications, but all of the cast of players involved in pushing Roberts through are all now very aggressively behind the scenes talking with those conservative groups. You have Vice President Dick Cheney. You also have, of course, Dan Bartlett, Karl Rove, all of those people working very hard to try to smooth over the rough edges. They know that there's quite a bit of concern when it comes to those conservative groups.
All right, Suzanne, thank you very much. Harriet Miers is getting somewhat of a mixed reaction on Capitol Hill. There's praise for her professionalism, but when it comes to her possible political views, there's skepticism, as we just heard from Suzanne, from both ends of the political spectrum. Let's get some more details. Our congressional correspondent, Ed Henry, he's monitoring developments up on the Hill. What are you picking up, Ed?
Well, Wolf, once again, all of the pregame hype suggested this was going to be an all-out brawl. But just like with John Roberts, it appears that maybe the president averted a major showdown here. In the words of veteran Republican Senator John Warner, a key swing vote on all of this, it appears the president hit a second straight home run. Today, when Harriet Miers arrived on Capitol Hill, she was welcomed with open arms by the Majority Leader, Bill Frist, as well as Senate Judiciary Chairman Arlen Specter. Very warm words from those Republicans, not surprisingly. More telling, though, perhaps, is the fact that there was some interesting praise from top Democrats like Chuck Schumer, Dianne Feinstein, who voted against Roberts, saying she does not see any negatives with this nomination. And more importantly, the Senate Democratic leader also had very warm words. In fact, he is the man who initially raised the name of Harriet Miers directly to the president. This may not have been an orthodox pick, but from right to left, there's a lot of praise for it.
This sort of is reminiscent of Dick Cheney's selection as vice president. The president picked the picker, so to speak, but I think I believe that Harry Reid, in one of those consultations, had suggested that she would be a good choice.
I just understand the broad outline of this woman, and the broad outline looks really good to me.
Now, the praise from Senator Harry Reid, in fact, has been so effusive that one top Republican aide told me there's some fear on the Republican side that may antagonize conservatives a bit more, that the Democrats are promoting this nomination too much. In fact, two top conservatives on the Judiciary Committee, Tom Coburn and Sam Brownback, both put out some tepid, basic initial statements saying that they want to read more. They want to learn more about Harriet Miers before they really say anything at all. And the fact is, as you mentioned, Wolf, some on the left, like Chuck Schumer, while some early praise, they're also saying they're going to vigorously scrutinize her. They want to learn more about her background, Wolf.
All right, Ed Henry, thank you very much. Ed Henry on the Hill for us. Harriet Miers is already becoming somewhat of a lightning rod for criticism from the right. Some special interest groups fear she may not necessarily be conservative enough. For instance, a group called the Concerned Women of America says it will have to scrutinize her record to determine whether it can support her. William Crystal, the editor of the Weekly Standard magazine, suggests President Bush, quote, flinched from a fight on constitutional philosophy. Ahead, we'll have much more reaction to the Miers pick, including what they're saying online and the blogs, and we'll also tell you what they're saying on talk radio, specifically what Rush Limbaugh is saying about the president's pick. You might be surprised. After a brief ceremony, the new Chief Justice got right to work on the first day of the new Roberts Court. At 50 years old, Roberts is the youngest Chief Justice in more than 200 years. He could set the direction of the court for many, many years to come. Our congressional correspondent, Joe Johns, is joining us now live with more on that. Joe?
Wolf, this was supposed to have been the main focus of official Washington today, but it got upstaged by the announcement on Harriet Miers. Still, Chief Justice Roberts and the kickoff of his court got its due today, if you will, an invitation-only ceremony with the president in attendance, an investiture ceremony presided over by the senior justice, John Paul Stevens, who wished Chief Justice Roberts a long and happy career. After that, a bit of a photo op out here in front of the court. Then pretty much down to business. The new Chief Justice welcomed a group of new lawyers to the Supreme Court bar. The first cases the court heard with Roberts in the center seat had to do with labor laws that apply to people who work in the food processing industry, and also whether state government can tax gasoline on Indian reservations. Wolf?
All right, Joe, thank you very much. Joe Johns reporting for us here in Washington. Let's go back to CNN's Ali Velshi. He's in New York watching the markets. We had some confusion at the top of the hour when the markets closed. Clarify it for us, Ali.
Because I was saying bad things about the energy hog. The Dow is, in fact, down 33 points, closing at 10,535. The NASDAQ is up just 3 3/4 points to 2155. I just wanted to clarify that for our viewers. Wolf?
All right, Ali, thanks for clearing that up for us. Ali Velshi, we'll get back to you very soon. Coming up, so who exactly is Harriet Miers? We know she's close to the president, but she's never held a major political office and never served as a judge. What don't we know? Roy Moore is running. We know that. The Ten Commandments judge, as he's called, wants to be the governor of Alabama. Does a bitter battle lie ahead in the Bible Belt, as it's called? And investigators hoping that raising a sunken tour boat will help them learn what sent it to the bottom of Lake George in upstate New York, killing 20 elderly passengers. You're in the Situation Room.
So these are the roads.
I'll have the special.
You don't have a special. Oh, what can I get you?
I'll have the special.
Rules of the road. You're one of the dopes for whom they were made. The rules of the road.
No.
Then suddenly this, the end
Nice place.
of the road.
I think I'll do a cannonball. Don't do a cannonball.
Fairfield for travelers who know.
FedEx Ground will get these to Cleveland on Wednesday.
FedEx, aren't they a little pricey?
Ned, you're always wrong.
How am I always wrong?
Okay, let's review. Steely Dan is not one person. We get fringe benefits, not French benefits. James Dean is an actor. Jimmy Dean makes sausage. And you know what, Ned? It's not the Leaning Tower of Pizza.
So FedEx isn't too expensive? We don't get French benefits.
FedEx Ground. Reliability for less than you think.
I'm the same as you. I got a few mutual funds, make an occasional trade, but not exactly Mr. Wall Street, you know? So I see these TV commercials offering like, I don't know, $7 a trade, which sounds great, right? Except when I go to sign up, $7 a trade is if you're making like, I don't know, a gazillion trades a year. Like I don't have anything else to do. Honey, okay.
Strike one. Strike
When
two.
you were a kid, you made your own rules.
Strike 4, 5, 6, 7.
You still can.
Good hit. Oh.
Introducing Fair and Flexible from the new Sprint with no huge overages and no roaming charges. Now you make the rules, not your wireless company. Call 800-SPRINT-1 to get more control over your wireless plan. Fair and Flexible starts at $29.99 a month. Call 800-SPRINT-1 today. Sprint. Yes, you can.
The endurance of an astronaut. The stamina of a marathon runner. This is a NASCAR driver. CNN, October 16th. Health and NASCAR. What it takes to train, drive, and survive when man meets machine at 180 miles per hour. A Dr. Sanjay Gupta special. NASCAR, driven to extremes. CNN Sunday night, October 16th, 10 Eastern.
There's been a plane crash. Let's immediately go to CNN Zane Vergy at the CNN Center. She's following this story. What's going on, Zane?
Wolf, what we're learning is that a plane that took off from DeLand Airport, which is in Florida, it's near Daytona Beach, has crashed. You're looking at live pictures from our affiliate WFTV. It's not clear how many people were on board this plane. It's not clear what kind of a plane it is. We're getting conflicting numbers on casualties, so we don't know if there are any casualties or how severe they may be, or what kind of cause has triggered this crash. We'll bring you more details. As you can see, though, this plane has crashed and it's off the runway. Wolf?
And it's a small plane. We can see the small plane, so I don't know how many passengers could have been on board that plane, but clearly we're hoping for the best. Zane, as soon as you get some more information, we'll get right back to you. Zane Vergy with the latest on this plane crash in Florida. The president's pick for the U.S. Supreme Court comes from George W. Bush's inner circle. But beyond that, Harriet Miers remains a bit of a mystery without much of a public record. To help piece this story together, let's turn to our national correspondent, Bruce Morton. Bruce?
Well, who is Harriet Miers? Well, she's a woman, which probably proves that Laura Bush is a pretty good lobbyist. But maybe more important, she's a Texan and a longtime friend.
Harriet, thank you for agreeing to serve.
She joined Mr. Bush during his 1994 gubernatorial campaign, and he described her back then as a pit bull in size 6 shoes. He also said when it comes to cross-examination, she can fillet better than Mrs. Paul. That's the fish stick woman, of course. She served one term on the Dallas City Council, was the first woman ever hired by a prestigious Dallas law firm, eventually was co-managing partner of a firm with over 400 lawyers. She was the first female president of the Dallas Bar Association, then of the State Bar of Texas. She came to Washington with Mr. Bush in January 2001, was staff secretary. She read every paper the president saw, then deputy chief of staff, then White House counsel, replacing another Texas Bush friend, Alberto Gonzales, who was promoted to attorney general. In all those jobs, she kept a very low profile. She is intense about details. She is someone, a friend says, with the character and capabilities to say no if she thinks no is the right answer.
I recognize.
She is one of a number of women, tough, direct, and loyal, whom this president has promoted. Margaret Spellings, from Education Advisor to Secretary of Education. Condoleezza Rice, from National Security Advisor to Secretary of State. Karen Hughes, from Policy Advisor to the woman in charge of improving America's image abroad.
The last time a president named a longtime close friend to the court was when Lyndon Johnson nominated Abe Fortas, first to be Justice, then Chief Justice. That didn't work. Scandals gathered around Fortas, and he resigned. Nothing like that has happened to Mr. Bush's Texas team so far. Wolf?
All right, Bruce, thank you very much. John Roberts' strong religious views. He's Catholic. Were a little bit of an issue during his confirmation hearings. Not much. But what part does religion play in the life of the new Supreme Court nominee? Before moving to Washington, Harriet Miers attended a non-denominational church for some 20 years. One worshiper says Miers still visits Valley View Christian when she's back in her hometown of Dallas. Miers is said to have taught evening Sunday school there and was a member of the committee which oversees the church's missionary activities. So is Miers the right pick? Did the president make the smart choice? We'll get some expert opinion. James Carville, Rich Galen, they're standing by in today's strategy session. Plus, some of the other top stories of the day, including that tragic boat accident in upstate New York. Why did the tour boat capsize? We'll go live to Lake George, New York, and we're standing by. That boat's about to be raised from the water. Stay with us.
CNN Primetime tonight, $236 million for half-full cruise ships. And that's just the beginning. Tonight at 10, billions of dollars in no-bid contracts after Katrina. Who's really getting your tax dollars? The contracts, the connections, and the controversy. CNN tonight, 10 Eastern.
CNN Tomorrow, American Morning, Soledad O'Brien and Miles O'Brien, where real news makes the difference. American Morning, CNN Tomorrow, 7
Never plunge again. American Standard's new Champion flushing system with revolutionary flush tower technology. Only from American Standard.
Welcome to Mystery Mansion.
Time to go upstairs.
With every Friday night.
Don't even breathe.
Will be a scream. Mystery Movies. Friday nights, 9, 8 Central on I.
Nancy Grace, tonight at 8 Eastern on Headline News Prime.
Attention Medicare seniors. Is the cost of your breathing medication a burden? We can help. Call Med4Home now at 1-800-403-3528. Is opening multiple vials confusing? With medications such as Duoneb and Zopanex, you can simplify your breathing treatments. Med4Home delivers right to your door and handles all the Medicare paperwork for you. So give us a call at 1-800-403-3528. We're here to help you.
John Roberts, overwhelmingly supported to be Chief Justice. Why did the process work? President Bush consulted with 70 senators from both parties before choosing Roberts. After testifying for 22 hours, even Democratic senators called Roberts brilliant. Many Democrats are putting principle above politics, voting for Roberts. Urge the Senate to continue putting partisan politics aside, hold fair hearings, and give the next nominee a fair, up or down vote.
Every day, buildings everywhere are getting stronger, quieter, more attractive, and more energy efficient. What does it take to put everything in place? The right chemistry. Improving the things we all need is a goal to build on, and it's ours. Dow. Living improved daily.
Let's immediately go back to our Zane Verjee. She's at the CNN Center. She's taking a closer look at this plane crash in Florida. Are you getting more details, Zane?
Yeah, we do have more details, Wolf. We know that there were 12 people on board this plane. They were actually going skydiving. We don't have any word on casualties. This plane was attempting to take off from DeLand Airport in Florida. We don't know what its ultimate destination was, but as I say, people were just going to go skydiving and to have a good time. These are pictures that we received from our affiliate, WFTV. DeLand is near Daytona Beach in Florida. You can see authorities there on the scene. There doesn't appear to be anyone there. Everyone's been either taken away or evacuated immediately. We did receive some pictures a moment ago that were live, but it seems as though the situation here under control. We don't know again if there were fatalities or any injuries. All we do know, Wolf, that there were 12 people on board and they were going skydiving. The return of some normality to Louisiana's Jefferson Parish. Most of the public schools in the community opened their doors to students today for the first time since Hurricane Katrina struck back in August. Most other public school districts in the affected region remain closed. New Orleans City schools hope to open by November. The focus in Bali turning now to photographs of 3 dead suicide bombers. Investigators will try and put names to those photos and determine who's responsible for killing 19 people at the popular tourist destination on Saturday. At least 130 more people were injured. The U.S. and several other governments had issued heightened terror warnings for the region. A vow of completion from Vice President Dick Cheney today to Marines at North Carolina's Camp Lejeune. One hard-hit unit based there has lost 48 troops in Iraq, 14 of them killed in back-to-back attacks over the summer. Cheney told the Marines that their losses are irreplaceable and that the United States will honor the dead by completing the mission in Iraq. Wolf?
Zane, getting back to the Bali terrorist bombing, the authorities there, police, they're releasing some photographs, some grisly photographs. Tell us what they're doing.
They've released them to the newspapers, and those photographs of the bombers are on all the front pages of the Indonesian newspapers this day. Basically, the suicide bombers had just loaded themselves up with vests that had ball bearings, explosives, and other shrapnels. And when they detonated those, their torsos went in one direction and their heads went in another. So the heads are actually remarkably intact, says one Indonesian authority, a local official rather. He said the heads are swollen and they're bruised, but they're intact. Wolf?
Awful story. Zane, thank you very much for updating us on the plane crash in Florida as well. We'll check back with you for more details. We're also following late developments in Lake George, New York. That's in upstate New York, where crews are on the scene of that deadly boating accident which killed 20 people yesterday. CNN Susan Lesovich is there for us, and she's got the latest. Susan, what do you know?
Oh, well, Wolf, you know, this narrow sliver of water just about 600 feet offshore has been the site of intense activity this afternoon, and it has increased with each passing hour because now we're in a race against time with the available sunlight. But only in the last hour, since we last spoke, in fact, we've seen what would appear to be some very positive developments. One is that the boom surrounding the area has now completely encircled the area, and we know that authorities do not want to raise the Ethan Allen until it's encircled because that boat is leaking diesel fuel. The other thing is that the divers are so critical in this process of putting these inflatables underneath the boat and then carefully raising it to the surface. Remember, it remains submerged in 70 feet of water, and we saw nearly a dozen divers jump in the last 15 minutes or so. Obviously, this boat is a critical piece in the investigation as to what happened, one of the worst tragedies ever on Lake George, the position of the boat, the condition of the boat. But I know in your interview with the acting chairman of the NTSB in the last hour, Mark Rosenker, repeatedly emphasizing that they will be looking at every possibility before they come to a conclusion, that there's a lot of conflicting accounts right now and that there are a lot of questions that remain unanswered. Wolf.
Susan, it was a beautiful day, I take it. I've been to Lake George. Lake Placid is not very far away. It's by no means a tsunami out there. It's a very, very normal, beautiful lake, and it was a gorgeous day yesterday. What's their working assumption?
Well, I think authorities are very careful not to have a working assumption, but you are right. This is a place that has historically drawn millions of people. It is a real jewel in New York State. I myself have vacationed here. It's just exquisite. Hundreds of islands, 32 miles long, pristine water, and yesterday was a perfect day for boating. Calm conditions, first of all, clear skies, sunny, balmy, about 70 degrees, abnormally warm. These senior citizens were on what appeared to be a fall foliage tour, and they had every expectation this was going to be a very gentle kind of ride, so none of them were wearing life vests. They were not required to do so, but the conditions today, fortunately, are a repeat of yesterday, and that has made this search and salvage operation a little bit easier for them to deal with. It's a very tedious and delicate operation, to be sure. Wolf.
All right, Susan, we'll check back with you. We'll also wait and see when they actually raise the Ethan Allen. We'll show our viewers that scene once it happens. Susan, thank you very much. Susan Lisovich reporting. When we come back, it was relatively easy going for John Roberts. Will it be the same for Harriet Miers? Up next, the tactics behind the president's latest Supreme Court nomination. James Carville and Rich Galen, they'll join us in today's strategy session. Plus, what a first Monday in October. A new Chief Justice as the Supreme Court gets ready to take on key cases, from abortion rights for women to the right to die. Stay with us.
Hi, I'm John Scherer, CEO and founder of Video Professor. You know, after 18 years of teaching millions of people how to use their computer, I'm amazed that there are still people that haven't tried my product. Many of you still need to learn Windows, word processing, the internet, and more. If you're looking for that new job, or maybe it's just balancing your budget, or even helping your kids with their homework, these aren't handy skills to have, they're essential. If you're having trouble learning computers, I'm going to help you out with a lesson of your choice from Video Professor. Let me show you how easy this is. You put the CD in your CD drive. The lesson plays like a video on your computer screen. Just follow the step-by-step instructions that guide you through learning the software. The lesson always stays on top of the program you're learning. You see what to do, and then just do it yourself. You can't make a mistake because you see the results right in front of you. You can pause or rewind the lesson to learn at your own pace. You know the best part about this offer? This is free. You see, I know that if you try my product, you'll never fumble through a big, thick manual, you'll never go to a seminar or a class. I know this, but the only way you're going to know it is if you try my product. So I'm going to make you this incredible offer. You try my product, and if it doesn't do everything I say and you don't learn with it, you simply send it back to me, and I'm going to send you $10. So call right now to get your free CD lesson. And if you can't learn with my product for any reason, or you think there's a better way to learn, simply send it back to me, and I'll send you $10. And I'll even refund your shipping and processing. So now what are you waiting for? Try my product.
Call Video Professor now for your free lesson. Choose from Windows, Word, Quicken, the Internet, and many more. Call now and this free gift will be yours. The Anytime Organizer is the calendar, diary, address book, and journal on your PC.
Call now to get your free lesson and the free gift. And remember, if you are not completely satisfied, return it and we'll send you $10. Call 1-800-416-7881.
Class of 95. Here I come.
Weekends look even better at 50% off. Rent Friday to Monday, 50% off. Pick Enterprise. We'll pick you up.
CNN Tonight, a male model and champion athlete with no knees, no elbows, and no excuses. The inspiring Kyle Maynard, how he overcame incredible odds, and how you can too. Larry King Live, CNN Tonight, 9 Eastern.
Don't wait for the most exciting news video. Get it now from CNN.com. The most dramatic stories, the video everyone will be talking about, all free. Go to CNN.com and click on Watch. Free video on CNN.com. Get the full picture.
Welcome back. The Harriet Miers nomination to the U.S. Supreme Court has caused some reactions you might not necessarily have expected. While some Republicans are being cautious in their optimism, some Democrats are actually warmly embracing the president's pick. Joining us now are guest Democratic strategist and CNN political analyst James Carville and Republican strategist Rich Galen. Thanks, guys, for joining us. Are you surprised, James, that the sort of skepticism, the criticism is coming more from the right than it is from the left?
Yeah, I don't know. Nothing surprised me. I think the pick surprised me, but this has, like, President Bush all over it. This was his pick. On this show, I said a few weeks ago that...
I'm going to interrupt you, James, for one quick second, because we're getting information right now that boat, the Ethan Allen in Lake George in upstate New York, is being raised right now. There we see it. These are live pictures coming in from Lake George, New York. Susan Lasovich is there. We see some divers on the sidelines over there on the side of those boats. Susan, update our viewers on what we know.
Divers and authorities have been working on all day, Wolf, and it's a very tedious, very time-consuming, very delicate process, and it looks like it is paying off late in the afternoon, just as, you know, the afternoon sun is beginning to wane. But what you are seeing right now is the very top, it looks like, of the Ethan Allen, and I say that because it appears that we see a flag aboard the boat. Divers nearby, the orange buoy off to another side. We believe that buoy had marked the spot where the Ethan Allen lie in 70 feet of water. But again, a very delicate process. But not only that, bringing these inflatables and lifting this boat, this 40-foot boat, to the surface, but also a very critical piece of a very important investigation. The condition of the boat, the position of the boat, what led this boat to capsize and sink in picture-perfect conditions yesterday. Wolf.
Explain, Susan, I want to go back on that boat. Explain how they're actually raising this boat. That 47 passengers on board, one captain, 20 people died when it capsized. But explain the process of how they're actually bringing this boat to the surface. I take it the water is about 70 feet in depth?
That's right. And actually, because it was such a hot summer and because we have abnormally warm weather conditions to this day, the water is a little bit warmer than it might be in early October. We're talking about mid-60s, the water temperature. But everybody knew right away where the Ethan Allen went down. It was the process of bringing it to the surface safely and intact that, of course, is such a big, delicate project. What we saw early this morning, Wolf, once we had the first rays of sun, is that divers authorities were on the scene. Divers going down to the depths, the 70-foot depths where the boat lie, to map out the position and the condition of the Ethan Allen. That is something that the NTSB requires. It needs it to get the information to put in, to answer all the questions that remain as to why this boat so suddenly capsized. But then what happens later on is that there are inflatables that are put underneath the boat, and that very carefully and very slowly it is brought to the surface, because you don't want it tipping to one side or the other. You want to raise it to the top of the water very carefully, very slowly, so that you have the boat in the best possible condition before it's towed off to a secured place where NTSB officials can examine it more thoroughly.
And we see that boat coming up slowly but surely, higher and higher. I take it this could take a while for that boat to come up all the way. Are they giving you an estimate, Susan, how long this process is going to take?
No, actually, I don't have an estimate. We do know, Wolf, that this is a very important step, though. You wanted to get this boat to the surface of the water before the sunset today, because then it might go into another day. It just gets too hazardous once the sun sets. But the next step, once they get this boat completely onto the surface, is that you'll have it towed to an area, we're not sure where, but a secure area where the NTSB officials can more thoroughly continue their investigation.
We know the National Transportation Safety Board, the federal agency, is there. We spoke with Mark Rosenker, the acting chairman of the NTSB, in the last hour. Are they in charge of this investigation, or are state or local authorities really in charge?
Well, you know, it's interesting. I mean, of course, the Warren County Sheriff's Department were all over the scene yesterday, and their divers are the people that we've been seeing in the waters today. But NTSB has such a history and such an expertise in these kind of situations. It appears the NTSB is controlling it. I can't say definitively, but it appears that they're pretty much in charge, with heavy assistance, of course, from sheriffs and state officials from New York. It is a multi-pronged effort to find out what happened, because it just seemed to all the people that were here yesterday that saw this, just a surreal scene. There was a boat in calm waters and clear conditions that just in slow motion suddenly capsized and then minutes later sank. 20 people, of course, died as a result of that accident.
In the eyewitness accounts that I've read about, Susan, and you're there, you're on the scene as we see the Ethan Allen, that boat that capsized yesterday in Lake George, being brought up to the surface of that water. We see the divers alongside helping in this process. In the eyewitness accounts, either from the survivors or from others who saw what happened, supposedly the whole thing happened within a few seconds, and at one point almost everyone, all 47 passengers, sort of slid over to one side of that boat. Give our viewers a sense of what those eyewitnesses are telling you.
Well, you know, I'm standing on the property of a family that were really among the first responders yesterday. Some of those family members were in a canoe, so they would certainly be very sensitive to the movement of the water. They said that it was very calm. Now, this is where you get some conflicting descriptions of what happened. The captain has told authorities that he was trying to avoid a wake at the time, and that may have contributed to the accident. These people tell me that they saw it happen, and they said that they would certainly feel whether there was a wake, and they felt none. But they said very calm, in slow motion. It appeared that the boat was perhaps making a turn deliberately, and then all of a sudden, it just keeled over. It was surreal, very calm, then screaming, shouting, and then people, anybody who saw who was in a boat just came. In fact, those people in a canoe ditched the canoe, got into a fishing boat, came over and tried to help people as much as possible. But it was a harrowing scene because, first of all, there were some people who were trapped underneath. The first responders weren't aware of the fact. You could hear knocking at a certain point that there were people underneath the boat. Then, of course, virtually all of the passengers were senior citizens, some of them quite infirm. Also, the presence of diesel fuel in the water. So people saying they were trying to lift these people so heavy because they were, in some cases, maybe not quite conscious. So it's this dead weight. Plus, they were, in some cases, covered with fuel, so very slippery. And so it was a very difficult, chaotic scene. But people who were in the scene enjoying this beautiful weather were very quick to respond, and in some cases, we're quite sure, helped save lives.
And the passengers, I take it, were not wearing life vests. Is that right?
They weren't wearing life vests, and they weren't required to do so. The Ethan Allen is required, and any boat in New York State is required to have as many life vests, at least as many life vests as the maximum number of passengers. We've heard it from witnesses who said they saw life vests washing ashore. It was a very gentle day, it appeared, on the surface, and that's one of the great contradictions of water. The boat, this is a very deep lake, and it can be very dangerous very quickly.
We can really see more of it coming up right now. You can see the makeup of that boat as it comes up. It's getting those I guess you got to say the divers and everyone else are really getting that boat up to the surface of this water right now. You're really beginning to see the shape of this vessel. The pilot, the captain of this boat, I take it, had an outstanding record, and there's really no question of his capability. Is that the preliminary assessment?
That's right, and not only that, Wolf, he was well known to people in the area. He's a retired state trooper. Some of the sheriff's officials who were talking earlier in a briefing said he is devastated by this, was well known, had a terrific record as a state trooper, knew the lake very well, was highly regarded. He worked for a tour company that has been here for a long, long time, has a good record as well. The Ethan Allen is a boat that has been on the waters of Lake George for a long time. So it's really a mystery as to what happened. And the Ethan Allen passed an inspection reportedly just a few months ago. So it's just really perplexing as to what happened yesterday.
And I've read accounts saying that he was not tested, the pilot, for either alcohol or drugs. Although I suspect that under an investigation of this nature, wouldn't that be standard operating procedure?
One would think, and of course time is of the essence when you're going to do that kind of testing, Wolf, but apparently officials felt that his behavior, his conduct, the conditions that occurred did not warrant such a test. But he will be speaking formally to the NTSB tomorrow. He has spoken informally to them today, and he has spoken also to the Sheriff's Department. And one of the things he has said is that there was a wake coming toward the boat. He was trying to avoid it, and one would suspect that that's one of the things that he thinks contributed to the accident.
One of the saddest parts of this, and so much is so sad, 20 people are dead. There were 47 passengers plus the captain on board. 20 people are dead, and most of them were elderly. They were tourists from Michigan. They had come to upstate New York to see what was going on in beautiful Lake George and the Adirondacks, and they wanted to get a sense of fall that was just only beginning now in upstate New York. The leaves changing colors. Having grown up in that part of the country, I can testify how beautiful it is up there. What kind of reaction are you getting from the survivors? What are they saying?
Wolf, I have not talked to any of the survivors, although we have reporters, Alina Cho and Deborah Farrick, who are up here, and I think that is something that they have been trying to get. We have been basically positioned here, monitoring what authorities are saying about this search and salvage mission, but they were, by eyewitness accounts, in many cases in a state of shock when they were in the water, and that very calmly in some cases just saying, my mother is underneath the boat, or my wife is dead. It was just, it happened just so quickly that it was in a sense that they couldn't quite calculate what happened. But you're right. I mean, this was a group of seniors from Michigan, all of them from Michigan, who were, this was just one part of this fall foliage tour. This was an afternoon boating excursion on Lake George, a spectacular day on a spectacular lake. And I would say, I would agree with you, this is a lake that's beautiful 12 months of the year, but yesterday happened to be especially beautiful because you had the sun and the calm conditions. You had many, many people out on the water enjoying the lake, and you are just beginning to see the leaves turn color. But because it's been such a warm summer, you haven't really seen the leaves turn as much as you might think in early October up here.
I'm counting at least a half a dozen, maybe a dozen divers that we see at the surface right now. And let me just update our viewers who may just be tuning in, Susan. What we're seeing is the Ethan Allen. This is the boat that capsized on Lake George yesterday, killing 20 people. 27 survived, plus the captain, the pilot of this boat. They're now raising it. They're trying to raise it intact as much as possible so the NTSB, the National Transportation Safety Board, and other investigators can try to understand what exactly happened, learn from the lessons. You see a picture of the Ethan Allen in the upper left-hand corner of your screen. That's what it used to look like before it capsized. Now it's being brought to the surface. Susan Lasovich is helping us. She's on the scene for us in Lake George, which is just north of Albany, New York, in upstate New York. What are they going to do with this boat once it gets to the surface?
Well, again, it is one of the most critical part parts of the investigation. The NTSB, as you know, Mark Rosenker saying that they are going to go over this boat with a fine-tooth comb. They're also going to examine a lot of other things as well. Of course, the boat traffic in the area, the weight aboard the boat, all the accounts, the eyewitness accounts, the pilot's accounts. But this boat is a critical piece of the investigation. Once they get this boat steady, we will see a barge that will, I don't think that this boat that is nearing it, I'm not sure that this is the boat that is going to tow it. But when they get the Ethan Allen steadier and higher, they're going to tow it, and they're going to tow it to a secure place. We're not told where, but that is where authorities can look at this boat more carefully to determine if there was something that if there was a malfunction in the boat that contributed to this boat just suddenly capsizing and sinking. One of the things we've been hearing this afternoon is that when the boat was turning, that some of the chairs that weren't fastened down slid to one side, which of course would further increase the weight on one side. But all the authorities are saying is just we're looking at everything, and they really just don't know if there was one primary cause or whether it was a whole bunch of factors that led to this terrible accident.
And Susan, all the bodies have been recovered, right?
That's correct.
So we're not going to see it. We're not going to see any more bodies emerge from this capsized boat.
That's correct. That's correct, Wolf.
Susan, stand by, and I want to continue to watch this picture and update our viewers on this dramatic development. They're bringing this boat up, the Ethan Allen. We're going to also resume our discussion and our strategy session on Harriet Miers, the nominee to replace Sandra Day O'Connor on the Supreme Court. We'll take a quick break. We'll go back to Lake George right after this.
People who get loans shouldn't be taken advantage of. That's why eLoan has consultants who don't make money based on the rate of the loan, offer you low rates, and treat you fairly. Those are just some of the revolutionary ways we're changing the lending industry. eLoan. Radically simple.
They say he's a newsman on a mission. He gives both sides a fair shot. These days, who can you trust? Lou Dobbs tonight. CNN tonight, 6 Eastern.
Let Empire Glass replace your cracked windshield, and we'll give you 24 free dinners to Sherry's Restaurants, where you'll enjoy great food and delicious pies all day, every day. And we offer free mobile service to your home or office. So for the highest quality windshields and 24 free dinners to Sherry's, call Empire Glass today at 503-251-9881. And remember, when you think glass, think Empire.
Banner Furniture Outlet has it all. Family owned and operated with 40 years of experience. Whether you're looking for furnishings for your living room, dining room, family room, or bedroom, Banner Furniture Outlet is the place to shop. There's even a children's furniture department with all your children's room and bunk bed needs. Buy it today, get it today. Banner Furniture Outlet, where you can find a huge selection at factory direct pricing. On the east side on 82nd and Division, and on the west side in Hillsborough on TV Highway.
Shopping for a new home? Did you know that in the time it takes you to drive to just one house, you could visit 100 without leaving your home? Coldwell Banker Barbara Sue Properties introduces a better way to shop. Find your new home on TV or online, anytime. Hundreds and hundreds of dream homes are now just a click away. On Channel 15 or at cbseal.com. Coldwell Banker Barbara Sue Properties. Discover the joy of home shopping from home.
Oregon football with Mike Bellotti. Oregon game day. Oregon football games and replays.
Clemens on the quarterback draw. He's got it open. 5 touchdown, Kellen Clemens.
And Oregon football Monday Night Live. This fall on CNW 14, your exclusive home of the Oregon Ducks.
Bringing you the world for 25 years. This is CNN.
We're watching this situation develop in Lake George in upstate New York, just north of Albany. These are live pictures you're seeing here in the Situation Room. In the middle of that screen is the Ethan Allen. That's the boat that capsized yesterday, taking 47 passengers plus a captain around beautiful Lake George in upstate New York. 20 people were killed as that boat capsized under strange circumstances, mysterious circumstances. We don't know what happened. The National Transportation Safety Board is on the scene investigating, as are local and state officials. This boat is being brought to the top. It will be taken to a location for further investigation, but you see it coming to the top. Susan Lasovich is our reporter. She's on the scene for us in Lake George. Susan, the number of people that were on this Ethan Allen, on this boat, versus the number of people normally on this boat, is there a problem there?
No, it was within the guidelines, the legal guidelines of what the Ethan Allen could have on board. 50 passengers was the maximum. It was very close to it, 48. That included the captain, the only crew member aboard the boat. But, Wolf, I want to draw your attention to what's happening in the lake. Right now, it appears we may be seeing the actual towing of the Ethan Allen, because you see the boat that is just off to the left with the twinkling lights. There appears to be a tow line now connected to the Ethan Allen. So we may be starting to see the actual towing of this boat. They may not be able to raise it any further, but that obviously is also a very delicate situation. To your question about the number of people aboard, 47 passengers, all adults, one captain, the only crew member aboard. Some of the eyewitnesses I've talked to today said some of these people were, like so many of us Americans, they were quite large. So technically the boat may have been within its guidelines, but it may have exceeded the weight. It's just a question. It's one of many questions. But I think you can also see from the pictures there, the Ethan Allen is not a very large boat. It's only 40 feet long. 40 feet long, 48 people aboard. So if 47 people are off to one side for any reason, that could really destabilize the boat.
Susan, stand by. I want to bring in Larry Cleveland. He's the sheriff of Warren County. He's on the scene for us. He's joining us on the phone. Sheriff, give our viewers a sense of what we're seeing right now. Is this boat being towed as we're watching these live pictures?
Well, yes, it is. Just so you know, I'm not on the scene, but of course I'm getting minute-by-minute information. The boat is being taken to a shallower area in the event that it should drop again, so that we can then stabilize it, pump the water out of it to bring the gunnels up to a level that will make it safe and conditioning to actually tow it to a location where it can be taken out of the lake.
So you anticipate this boat at some point will be raised and taken someplace to a warehouse or someplace where it can be studied?
Yes, the plan right now is to completely get it out of the water and get it to a secure location where it can be examined in depth.
What is the latest information you're getting, Sheriff? What happened?
Well, we know that the boat capsized, and of course there's a lot of dynamics that can play into that, including the number of people on board, how much they weighed, what was the distribution of that weight while it was on board, whether or not that weight shifted because the boat tipped to some degree, maybe with whatever reason, if it went through a wake or it went through just the regular wave activity that might be on the lake at any given time. So we don't know for sure just what did take place, but there's a lot of things to look at, including the human factors, as well as the boat itself, its construction, whether any modifications may have been made to it, and so forth.
Have you ever had any problems with this Ethan Allen or other similar vessels in Lake George?
No, nothing of this magnitude. In fact, nothing with this particular company as well.
What kind of problems have you had with boats capsizing, if any, in Lake George?
Well, we have boats that capsize all the time. They're usually small rowboats, sailboats, and things like that. But the magnitude of this, or a cruise boat, is unprecedented. We've never had anything like this happen before.
What about the captain of this boat? One individual, one professional on board with 47 passengers, mostly elderly people, tourists visiting from Michigan. What do we know about the captain?
Number one, he's a retired state police member for New York. He had a distinguished career with them. Then went on to take on a second career as a licensed New York State pilot. He's been piloting boats on Lake George for many, many years. Most all of our people know who he is based on our involvement with him over the years on the lake. He's a safety-conscious individual. He's a responsible individual. We wouldn't expect that there would be anything here that would have happened on his behalf that would have been intentionally reckless or negligent.
Did you do a routine drug or alcohol test?
We did not. There's been some question about that, and what's being confused is the difference between the state law versus the federal law. Federal law, if you're licensed under the U.S. Coast Guard regulations, would allow us to demand that a test be taken regardless of whether or not we had any suspicion that there was any alcohol or drug involvement. In New York, the requirement is such that we must have a reasonable suspicion. In other words, we need a higher threshold before we can demand that that be taken. And I personally interviewed the captain of that boat within 30 to 40 minutes because that's how quickly I was out there on the scene. And there was no indication to us, and has not been in the last 24 hours, that there was any type of impairment that would have warranted us triggering the New York state law that would have required him to take that test.
So what's the next step now, Sheriff? What are you doing as this boat? I assume you're interviewing survivors and eyewitnesses.
We're interviewing and taking detailed written statements from all of the survivors, the many, many witnesses that were on the lake shore or out on the lake itself. Of course, the project right now is getting this boat up. As you can see, they're bringing it in closer to shore. The idea being that if for some reason we were to lose one of the lift bags, the vessel would not go down to that deep water again. They'll bring that up and get the gunnels up over the surface so that it's stabilized, pump the water out, and it should be seaworthy at that time enough so that we can then tow it to a location to get it pulled out of the water.
Sheriff, I have a lot of, not a lot, but a few more questions to ask you. Do you have a few moments that you can stand by with us?
Sure.
All right, good. Susan Lesovich is standing by as well. She's our reporter on the scene. She has some questions for you as well, Sheriff. Larry Cleveland, the Sheriff of Warren County in upstate New York. We're going to take a quick break. Much more of our coverage right after this.
Sprint Business is reinventing the yes man, turning the yes man into someone who can work from almost anywhere. And now that Sprint and Nextel have come together, you can work in and out of the office more efficiently, the way 96% of the Fortune 1000 already do. So saying yes from just about anywhere with speed and confidence makes me a yes man. I'm a yes man.
With Sprint Business, you can make just about any place a workplace. Yes, you can.
Okay.
Oh, Chubsy, come on. The answer's always... No! That's right. Oh, no! I'm not hearing it.
No! No! No!
Go from no to no hassle with Capital One No Hassle Rewards. There are no blackout dates. Check your mailbox for details.
I should have worked at Capital One!
What's in your wallet?
No!
Yeah, the boys are asleep. We're just getting ready for bed. So you'll be home tomorrow? Okay, sweetie. I love you. Bye. You guys okay? Hello?
This is Mike with Brinks Home Security. Are you okay?
No, someone broke down the front door.
I'm sending help right now.
Brinks Home Security protected this family, and they can help protect yours, too. The Brinks award-winning monitoring center can provide a quick link to the authorities 24 hours a day. And the Brinks Standard System is a Consumer's Digest Best Buy. Call Brinks now and get a free security system needs analysis, the Brinks Standard System installed for just $99, and a second keypad installed free. That's a $125 value. Plus, you could save up to 20% on your homeowner's insurance. You're never really home alone with Brinks Home Security. Brinks Home Security, dedicated to rapid response and peace of mind 24 hours a day. Call now.
We have seen the faces of suffering in Sudan and Darfur. Over 2 million people torn from their homes, forced into camps of isolation. But we have seen the hope in a child's face. Catholic Relief Services is there, providing food, water, shelter. The need is urgent. The choice is simple. Watch as another chapter of tragedy is added to history, or act now. Millions of Sudanese wait for hope. That hope begins with you.
Welcome back. We're here in the Situation Room watching a dramatic story unfold. Yesterday, a boat capsized in beautiful Lake George in Warren County. That's in upstate New York, just north of the state capital of Albany. 47 passengers were on board that boat. 20 people died. The captain survived as well, in addition to 27 of the passengers. We're speaking with the Warren County Sheriff, Larry Cleveland. He's on the phone with us. We've been watching these pictures, Sheriff, of this boat being brought to the top of Lake George. It's being floated, it's being towed, and it will be taken to a secure location for an investigation and inspection of what happened. How many years have you been around there, Sheriff? Because this sounds like a very extraordinary, unusual situation, a tragic situation developed in Lake George, not normal business as usual by any means.
Well, I've grown up in this area. I've lived here all my life. I've got over 30 years of law enforcement service in this community. This is unprecedented for our community, and as I've researched a little bit or had provided to me throughout the day, this is unprecedented in our state for a marine tragedy, and I believe at this point we're talking anywhere in the United States. The largest I've heard of is 13 people that may have perished in the incident down on Staten Island. So it's had a major impact on us here, not just in the small community that we're in, but the state of New York as well.
It is so mysterious how this happened, because the weather, I take it, Sheriff, was simply beautiful yesterday, wasn't it?
It was a gorgeous day. The lake was calm. There was a lot of activity because it was such a nice day, which would mean there was a lot of wave activity, a lot of wake activity coming from the other boats that were out there. There are so many factors that could come to play here that each one independently would probably not result in the tragedy we have, but it appears that two or three have come together and aligned themselves, which brought about this event.
Some witnesses, as you know, Sheriff, insist that there was a wake from a larger vessel, the Mohegan, which caused the boat to roll over and sink, referring to the Ethan Allen. You've looked into that. What can you tell us about that?
Well, if there was a wake from the Mohegan, and we don't believe there was one, that the Mohegan was that close to that location at that time. Our preliminary information, it was 3 or 4 miles away. But if you reasonably think this through, these tour boats have been on this lake for years. I'm talking 50 and 60 years. If there was the potential for the Mohegan or any other large cruise boat to be overturning smaller boats, or even one as large as this, which is 40 feet, that's something that would be to our immediate attention. We would have stopped that activity, and it wouldn't take place. So it's unreasonable to say that one large cruise boat went by and its wake rolled this boat over. There's more factors involved: the loading, the total weight, the distribution of that weight, whether or not there were other wakes or waves that were there in addition to the larger one. There is a well-known occurrence on Lake George called echo waving, because this is a narrow fresh water that has deep ledges on both sides, and the water waves go out, hit those rock ledges, and echo back again. So it's a phenomenon that's known on this lake, and it's just so many factors that need to be considered. I can't begin to tell you that we could ever pin it on one particular thing, such as a larger boat putting up a wake. Sheriff,
how old was the Ethan Allen, this boat that we're seeing now being raised, brought to the surface, and being towed away? How many years had it been in operation?
I can't give you a year. I don't have that information right in front of me, but I know that this is one of 3 sister ships that are on the lake that are used routinely. They've been out there for many years. I would say, and I'm taking a guess here so you know, we're probably talking at least 15 or 20 years.
And do you know when it was most recently inspected for safety?
They're inspected on an annual basis by the New York State Office of Parks and Recreation and provided with an operating certificate for the season, and of course was in fact holding a valid certificate for the 2005 season.
What has this done to your community, Sheriff?
Well, it's brought out the best. If you were to be up here and look at this community, it's a nice, quiet, relatively rural community, tourism industry oriented. The people here, I believe, I know, are grieving as much as they are in the state of Michigan. This is a loss to our community, not as much as to theirs, obviously, and of course, but very much so to this community. Everyone is in shock, and we're all trying to express our deepest sympathies to the people that have been involved in this.
Sheriff, you mentioned earlier the number of people. There were 48 people on this boat, 47 passengers, plus its captain. Some of them may have been heavy. What was the weight limit or the number of people, the limit that under normal circumstances you would have liked to have seen on this kind of a boat?
The permit on this particular vessel was for it to carry 50 adults. It does not calculate out into weight. It's done by the number of people. And as you'll go back and look over the history of the last few years, as these accidents have occurred, there has been questions raised as to the standard that has been used and set by the U.S. Coast Guard, which I believe was 150 pounds per person. And as we know, we continually read in the news media that the average weight of the American individual has gotten higher. And I can tell you from being at the scene yesterday and seeing the victims, there were both the survivors and those that didn't make it. There were people that were well over 150 feet. There were several people that were considerably over that weight. So you have to look at the total amount. That's something that the National Transportation Safety Board will do, and look at how that weight was distributed and how it could have moved in a 10, 15, or 20-degree pitch or roll.
The captain survived this disaster, Sheriff, and I take it he's in good shape. Have you personally spoken with him?
I did. Within 30 to 40 minutes of this accident, I was on the lake myself. I met with him right out on the lake. I've known him for years as a master on one of the boats out there. He's not like a personal friend, but we all know who he is. He's an honorable person. He's a dedicated, he's a safety-oriented person. I got to tell you, he is totally devastated. His only questions to me were, how were the passengers? Were people okay? Right while I was there, that was his only real concern. He's been shattered by this.
Has he been debriefed? Have you had a chance to ask him what happened?
We have sat down with him and had an extensive interview and have taken written statements. We know that he was in some kind of wake or wave turbulence and was trying to adjust the boat to make sure they got safely through it. It turned up onto its side. Some of the passengers lost their footing on the seats, which are fixed seats in the boat, and the weight then also shifted to one side, which continued to add on. As I was trying to explain those factors that kept piling on, which resulted in the tragedy, but each one alone may not have done it.
We're speaking with Larry Cleveland. He's the sheriff of Warren County, where Lake George is. Sheriff, if you could bear with us for a few more moments. Susan Lasovich is our reporter. She's on the scene for us in Lake George. She has a couple of questions for you as well. Susan?
Sheriff Cleveland, one of the questions I'd like to ask is the fact that there was only one crew member on board. It was this captain with his terrific safety record and a very deep knowledge of the lake, but nonetheless, just one crew member on board. Is that something that adheres to the guidelines boating in New York State?
Each individual vessel that's authorized to operate under the Parks and Recreation permitting process has got that listed, how many crew members there must be. And we're working right now with the state to retrieve those records to find out how that was broken down. It often changes by the number of people on board, so we of course need to know the number of people on board to then be able to determine how many crew people had to be on. I don't know what those numbers are going to be. It's very possible that it could have been just the one that was required to be on there, or it may have been more than one.
Sheriff, also the fact that that it was within the guidelines for the number of passengers, just under it. This is only a 40-foot boat. There were 48 people in total on board. Do you go not only by the number of passengers but also by weight?
The permitting process goes by the number of adults that can be on board the vessel. It, of course, would be up to the captain to make sure before he left the dock that he felt that the vessel was maneuverable and was properly loaded and distributed and was not to a position where it would have endangered anyone.
You know, one of the things that, has come clear today is that there's so many conflicting accounts of what happened yesterday, and this did not happen under the cover of darkness where there were maybe one or two people from a distance. This was a lake that was well populated yesterday, and there were many people who either saw the accident happen or came to the scene moments later. What do you make of the fact that there are so many conflicting accounts in broad daylight?
Well, I know that probably is surprising to the people that are not working with us on a daily basis. But there's an old maxim in the law enforcement business, and the worst witness you can have is an eyewitness. If 3 people see something, you'll get 3 different versions. You know, we've been working all different angles. I'll just give you one example. We had 2 or 3 reports right at the beginning that there was a fire on board, that a fire caused this boat to actually capsize. In reality, as we've gotten down through all these reports and talked to people, when the boat rolled over, the hot engine compartment struck the water. There was a plume of smoke and steam that went up, which some perceived as being a fire. But no one on board was burned. There's no indication of a fire on board. So we know that information was not correct. But if I were to say to you, 3 eyewitnesses said it was on fire, you would want to tend to believe that. But 3 witnesses did tell us it was on fire, eyewitnesses, and it was
in
not.
fact, some of the people that I talked to today, Sheriff, said that one of the things that attracted them to the scene was that they saw smoke on the water in this very clear day. They knew something was amiss, and in fact, they were among the first responders. But since you're saying that, yeah, that comes with law enforcement, is that there are conflicting accounts, that is quite typical. Who is it that you most want to talk to at this point?
Well, we want to speak to, and we have spoken to most of the actual survivors, and the need there, of course, is the availability. The majority of those people have now returned or are en route back to Michigan. So we had a focus today on trying to get to all of them so that we could talk to them, get detailed written statements, and allow them to head back to Michigan, which was the top priority today.
When all is said and done, though, while authorities did this magnificent job of this very difficult job of raising the Ethan Allen to the surface today, the actual investigation itself in terms of real answers that you're going to be giving us is not something that we can expect anytime soon.
No, you're talking weeks at the minimum before we're going to be able to come up with any definitive answers.
Sheriff, this is Wolf back in Washington. Susan, stand by for a moment. Sheriff, if you have another moment, I want you to hear, if you can, if you're hard-pressed to leave, just let me know. Our Tom Foreman is here in our studio, Sheriff, and he's been looking at Lake George. He wants to give us some perspective on now of this magnificent part of the country that we're dealing with, and I can personally testify Lake George is one of the great tourist attractions, I must say, of the eastern part of the United States. But Tom, give us a little sense of what we're dealing with.
Hugely popular, not only through spring and summer, but particularly in the fall. People do gather for the foliage every year. Very popular at Lake George. Let's move in on Lake George and show you, again, where it is for starters. It's in upstate New York, north of Albany, not terribly far from Saratoga Springs, famous for the racing there. Here's some other little lakes like this. You can see it's a long, narrow lake, and this is the main business area here. People gather all along here for fireworks throughout the year. Wonderful, placid, beautiful lake. This is the cruise company we're talking about, right down in this area. You see these little boat slips up in here, and the company's situated here along the main drag. Lots of tourist attractions there, some miniature golf, things like this. It's truly a place for vacationers to go. And in fact, one of the sad things is this is the time of year when a lot of the communities up there sort of start quieting down after the foliage to shut things down for winter. So this is a terrible memory to be heading off into the off-season with in many ways also. This is where the boat would have been. Don't know that this is the Ethan Allen. It could be one of the sister ships. But that right there is a 40-foot boat. So that gives you an idea of how big it was when it was near the shore. And it would be quite normal for these boats to come out, cruise up and down this beautiful lake, sometimes when fireworks are around, sometimes late in the evening, sometimes earlier in the day. But this is where they're going, up the shoreline, along past little cabins, hotels, things like that. This is Kramer's Point up in here. So there'd be beautiful foliage all up along the mountains here, not terribly far out. But as the sheriff pointed out a minute ago, and it's a good point to bear in mind here, look at the narrowness of this lake. This isn't a big, broad lake like some that's oval in shape. The other lakes near here, Lake Sacandaga, this lake, this sort of thing, tend to be these narrower lakes. Many, many people, as summer sport, will swim across the lake. It's one of the challenges, but it's not a huge challenge because it's not a huge lake. So the echoing effect off these shores is easily accomplished, and particularly in the past 10 years, on this lake, over on Lake Sacandaga, some of the other lakes, there have been increasing complaints and worries among many citizens about the number of boats on a Saturday or Sunday, particularly if you have a nice day, because you get a lot of competing wakes. We don't know if that's the issue, but it certainly has been an issue for people up there.
Tom, stand by. Mark Rosenker is the acting chairman of the National Transportation Safety Board here in Washington, but he's there in Lake George on a boat. Where are you right now, Mr. Rosenker?
Wolf, right now I'm at the Kramer's Point Landing, observing the surfacing of the Ethan Allen. The diving group from the New York State Police and the Warren County Sheriff's Department has done a very fine job of beginning the process of surfacing the vessel. We can actually see her, the top of the vessel now. They're going to raise her up high enough to get to the gunwale so they can bring the pumps in to get all the water out, which time then they will tow her out of the water and begin the process of taking her to a secure location where our team of experts will begin the process of examining that vessel from stem to stern.
Mr. Rosenker, as you see this vessel, you see more and more of it. Are you seeing anything that's surprising to you?
Wolf, it is clearly much too early to make any kind of determination. Right now we see the collars around it, the flotation devices lifting it up. There's still water clearly inside the cabin. Much too early to make any type of even preliminary determination. It will be a while before we're able to figure out exactly what happened here.
But the fact that you have this boat and it seems to be in relatively good shape, that's going to be able to help you in your investigation.
Wolf, you're exactly right. We're going to be able to go through it, see what the throttle positions were, take a look at how the rudders were working. We're going to take a look at the bottom of the vessel to see how she withstood the sinking. We're going to take a look at the sides of this vessel. We're going to take a look at every single screw. We're going to take a look at every bit of the material of this vessel to make sure she was seaworthy and that we understand what happened there.
And you don't want to, at this point, it's way too early to even speculate about a cause for this tragic accident?
Clearly much too early, but we will get to the bottom of it. We will get an answer, and we will be able to make determinations that, in fact, will make recommendations that will prevent this type of thing from happening again.
Mr. Rosenker, who's in charge of this investigation? Would it be the NTSB or local or state authorities?
What we have here is a very unique situation. The state and local authorities will be taking a look at the investigation as it relates to their state and their state regulations and rules. Since this is not a water which is in any way, shape, or form federal waters, we're here to take a look at the federal safety implications for not only Lake George, but also any place else in the United States that operates similar types of vessels. So although we do not have the criminal nor do we have any type of civil, which we never have anyway, this is not a federal waterway. We're here under the legislation which enables us to take a look at catastrophic marine accidents.
Mark Rosenker is the acting chairman of the NTSB. He's on the scene there in Lake George. I'm going to have you, if you can, Mr. Rosenker, stand by. We're also speaking with Sheriff Larry Cleveland. He's the sheriff for Warren County in upstate New York. Tom Foreman is here in the Situation Room. Susan Lisovich is our reporter on the scene. We'll continue to watch these dramatic developments. And I'll also, when we come back, we'll take a quick break. I'll ask Mark Rosenker about the decision not to go ahead and do a drug or alcohol test for the pilot, the captain who survived this tragic accident. We'll be right back.
What the world needs now is the only thing that there's just.
Your call will be answered in 30 minutes.
My car ready yet?
Whatever happened to customer service? At DHL, it's alive and well.
I'm on it.
Call us and see how we're changing the way the shipping business does business.
An important message for anyone over 50 with diabetes or risks for heart disease. You may have poor leg circulation that could be a condition called peripheral artery disease, or PAD.
Dr. Torman, is PAD a serious condition?
Yes, because it increases your risk of heart attack or stroke up to 6 times. You see, poor circulation in the legs can be a sign of poor circulation throughout your body, including your heart and your brain.
There's information available to help you learn more.
Now, doctor, does everyone with PAD have symptoms?
Not necessarily. You may experience pain or heaviness in the legs when walking. If you're less active, you may not notice any symptoms.
Is there a test for PAD?
Yes, it's simple, and if you're diagnosed, treatments are available to reduce the risk of heart attack or stroke.
Learn how to reduce your risk. Call 1-800-560-8263 today for your free information about PAD, diagnosis, and treatment options.
say he's a newsman on a mission. He gives both sides a fair shot. These days, who can you trust? Lou Dobbs tonight. CNN Tonight, 6 Eastern.
You can really see the difference at Willamette View, Portland's premier accredited senior retirement community. You'll love the lifestyle and views from its landscaped acreage on the Willamette River. A variety of activities, social, cultural, and wellness programs. The vitality of this senior community is unique and vibrant, like no other. Come see the difference for yourself. Come see why Willamette View got its name.
As the leader in high-speed internet, Comcast knows broadband better than anyone. So Comcast Workplace gives your business speeds up to 7 megs and state-of-the-art security features. All from a company you can count on, day in and day out. When Comcast comes to work, everything simply works.
American Morning. Real news makes the difference. CNN tomorrow, 7 Eastern.
These are live pictures from Lake George in upstate New York. That's just north of Albany. Yesterday, a boat, the Ethan Allen, carrying 47 passengers, mostly elderly tourists from Michigan on a sightseeing tour, plus the captain, the pilot. That boat capsized. The water, it was a beautiful day. Water was smooth under mysterious circumstances. That boat is now being raised and being towed to a location for inspection by the National Transportation Safety Board, as well as local and state officials. We're continuing our coverage of this deadly boat tour. We're bringing in the Sheriff of Warren County, Larry Cleveland. He's joining us. Mark Rosenker, the acting chairman of the NTSB, is standing by. I'll get to Mr. Rosenker in just a moment. But Sheriff, these other boats that we're seeing surrounding the Ethan Allen, what are they doing?
The majority of those, as the one you've got on there right now, are law enforcement vessels or being used right there to bring materials and resources back and forth to the scene to make the boat raising go along more efficiently. And there are others there that are keeping back the public, which is a rather large number of pleasure vessels that are out there that are just watching to see what's going on.
How much longer do you think this is going to take place? And is this technically termed a crime scene?
Well, no, we would not classify it as a crime scene, but we are handling the case as you would a criminal case so that we make sure we cover all the bases and make sure everything is well documented.
And it'll take a while to get that boat out of the water, actually, and tow it and then lift it and move it into a warehouse or wherever you're taking it.
Yeah, I would say that as you look at the picture now, that's one of our patrol boats that's actually pulling into the shallower water. Then it's got to be pumped out. Then it's got to be secured and towed to where it can be taken out of the water and then transported by land to a warehouse. I would estimate we're probably talking 3 to 4 hours before we'll have that boat under cover.
And we're speaking not only with you, Sheriff Cleveland, but we're also speaking with Mark Rosenker, the acting chairman of the NTSB. I take it, Sheriff, there's good cooperation between you and federal authorities?
Yeah, state, federal, and local have been working on this as a joint investigation right from the very beginning, as we do on any major event. And I tell you that from what I've seen in all the years I've been in law enforcement, the cooperation could not be better than it's been in the last 2 days here.
And Sheriff, you've been there for a long time. You grew up in this area. You've been working in law enforcement for 30 years. You told me just a little while ago this is almost unprecedented based on what happened yesterday in Lake George?
It is absolutely unprecedented. We've never had anything with any multiple fatalities even close to what's taking place here yesterday.
So this is going to have an impact on tourism in the region. I assume in the short term you're going to have to reassure everyone that it's safe to be on Lake George. Are you fearful there were simply too many boats in the beautiful waters of Lake George yesterday?
The number of boats may have been a very minor contributing factor, but the number of boats that were out there over this weekend is not even half of what you would see on a normal weekday in July and August.
So that was not necessarily a major factor, but what could have been a factor was if these people were overweight, shall we say, and that the weight of this boat, that it simply couldn't sustain 48 people.
That could be possible, the distribution as well as the construction of the vessel.
We're going to let you go, Sheriff Larry Cleveland of Warren County in upstate New York. Good luck, Sheriff. Thanks so much for helping our viewers better understand what's going on.
Yes, well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Sheriff. Mark Rosenker is still with us, the acting chairman of the NTSB, which is investigating the scene of this incident. These live pictures we're seeing a lot of boats there, Mr. Rosenker. Is this unusual in this kind of investigation?
No, I think you've got a lot of folks that still have their vessels out for before they put it away for the season, and they're obviously interested in seeing how this recovery operation is going along.
Do you have a problem with all these private boats just sort of getting close to the scene of where you're towing the Ethan Allen?
Well, the local authorities have done an excellent job of maintaining security in the perimeter that we need, and that their divers and that their technical assistants are using. So we're not concerned at all. Again, I can't congratulate the divers too much on the great work. This is a very challenging lift. It is a very challenging issue that of trying to get this vessel surfaced without doing any damage to it and potentially recapsizing it. So they've done I could say they've done a very good job of securing it at this point. Now, she still is underwater, but again, in much better shape for us to be able to do all the pumping that's necessary to bring her up to the surface and then do our investigation.
Mr. Rosenker, we heard the sheriff tell us a little while ago, Sheriff Larry Cleveland, that the pilot, the captain, was not tested for alcohol or drug use, given local regulations and laws. Is that a source of some concern to you?
Well, that's the laws of the state, and at this point, the laws of the state were adhered to, so that was an option that could have been used perhaps by local authorities, and they believed they did not find probable cause. So at the federal level, a requirement would be to do a blood and drug test that would be analyzed and assessed to see if there were any type of drugs or alcohol in the bloodstream.
Even perhaps inadvertent, some sort of medication that the individual might have been taking. But just clarify in my mind, because I'm a little confused on this, if this had been a plane crash or if it had been a train crash, routinely the NTSB and other authorities would have mandated that the captain, that the pilots undergo some sort of drug or alcohol test?
That is correct. And had the captain been operating in federal waters and had a Coast Guard license, then that requirement would have also been adhered to. But since we're operating in state waters here, there is no federal requirement for a drug or blood alcohol test.
All right, Mr. Rosenker, if you got a few more minutes, I'd love you to stay with us because we're going to continue to cover this story, and momentarily we're going to be getting some new pictures of the Ethan Allen that we're getting in. You have a few minutes to spend with us?
I'll stay with you, Wolf, and try to answer as many questions as I can.
Mark Rosenker is the acting chairman of the NTSB. Thank you so much. We'll take another quick break. We'll also bring back Tom Foreman, who's got some perspective on what we're seeing. Susan Lasovich is on the scene for us. Much more of our coverage right after this.
I was here before here had a name. As fields became farms, as grasslands became greens, and now as families become neighbors, till after their kids become parents, I'll be here. A natural gas well, one of Kerr-McGee's thousands, meeting energy demand in harmony with the land, with still more to explore.
Someone is saying yes instead of no to redeeming credit card miles. Find out who.
I'm on it.
No, blacked out.
Brenda, you know we all say no. But I hear sometimes you say yes.
Go from no to no hassle with Capital One No Hassle Rewards. There are no blackout dates. Check your mailbox for details.
Should have worked at Capital One.
What's in your wallet?
New Promise Buttery Spread helps maintain a healthy heart when eaten instead of butter or margarine. And now it's rich with heart health essentials like omega-3 and vitamins B6 and 12. Plus, there's no trans fat and lots of creamy, buttery taste. In fact, it's our healthiest and tastiest buttery spread yet. No wonder hearts are beating louder. New Promise Buttery Spread, taking your health to heart.
If you're a homeowner with an adjustable rate mortgage, what happens to your monthly payment if the rates go up again? That's a great reason to lock in a low fixed rate loan from Ditech.com. The total lender fee is just $395. Call 1-800-71-FIXED.
I know you. You're sitting there with rheumatoid arthritis. This is one of your good days, right? And you're gonna wait. Till when? Till you can't turn on a light? A piece of advice about waiting? Don't. Not when there's Humira. Talk with a rheumatologist today. Humira doesn't just help stop the pain and stiffness, it can even slow the progress of RA. Because just sitting there, your joints could be deteriorating, and when they're gone, they're gone.
Some people with heart failure should not take Humira. Humira can lower your ability to fight infections, so tell your doctor right away if you have ever had tuberculosis, or are prone to infection, or if you get an infection. Do not start Humira if you have an infection such as an open sore or the flu. There have been rare reports of serious and sometimes fatal infections and tuberculosis. Blood disorders, nervous system disorders, serious allergic reactions, and lymphoma have occurred.
Do it. Talk with a rheumatologist about Humira.
Welcome back. We're watching the lifting of the Ethan Allen. That's the boat that capsized on beautiful Lake George yesterday in upstate New York. We're getting some new pictures of the Ethan Allen. We'll show those pictures to our viewers. Joining us once again is Mark Rosenker, the acting chairman of the National Transportation Safety Board. We're looking at this new video. We see this boat coming up. It's being towed, Mr. Rosenker. It's a site that is very important for this investigation. Explain to our viewers why this is so critical.
Well, we're going to be able to see the condition of the vessel. If there were any mechanical or engineering issues that may have been a contributing cause to this, to the sinking and the capsizing. But we'll also be able to see where the rudder location is. We're going to take a look at the throttles and see where they may have been positioned to learn what speed this vessel may have gone as it began to rock and as it began to capsize. There's a lot of information that's hidden in this vessel, and we will uncover it with our highly trained testicle marine experts.
How unusual is this accident? We heard the sheriff of Warren County, Larry Cleveland, say it's unprecedented. He's been there for 30 years on the scene. Give our viewers a sense, because everybody, especially this time of the year in the summer, they want to go out on these boats. They want to do some sightseeing. They want to take these cruises in Lake George and other lakes and waterways around the country. How extraordinary is what we have just seen?
I would characterize this as quite extraordinary, and we're going to find out why this happened so we can prevent it ever from happening again. But these waters have clearly been quite safe for the commercial type vessels that are operating on it. Recreational boaters are also quite safe on these waters, particularly when they're wearing their personal flotation devices. We're going to find out what happened here. We're going to make sure that everybody understands what happened here, and we're going to make recommendations to prevent this type of thing from happening, not only in New York, but potentially anywhere on waters in the United States.
And I'm going to let you go in a second. One final question, Mr. Rosenker. The 47 passengers, I take it, were not wearing these flotation devices, the life vests.
That is correct, but there's no requirement for that as well, Wolf.
Did they have those life vests on the boat?
There was a requirement to have those for each passenger on the vessel. Now, we'll be counting to make sure that they had enough life preservers for each and every one of the passengers and the crewmen. So we'll be trying to take stock of everything that was on that boat to make sure that it was in compliance.
Did the 27 survivors, passengers who survived, plus the captain, were they wearing life vests?
We'll be interviewing them to find out. We don't know. There were life preservers that were floating, that came out from the vessel. We had heard some people grabbed hold of those, but we'll learn more as we do these interviews, Wolf.
All right, Mark Rosenker is the acting chairman of the NTSB. He's also a two-star Air Force general in the Air Force Reserves. He's joining us from Lake George. Very kind of you, Mr. Rosenker, to join us. Appreciate it very much. You've been very helpful.
Wolf, thank you for letting me have the opportunity to be with you today.
Good luck with this investigation, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Joining us now on the phone is Jerry Thornell. He's a former navigational officer for Warren County, which is where Lake George is. What do you make of what has happened, this tragic accident, Jerry?
Yes, it has been a tragic accident, a very unusual circumstance. Yesterday the weather was exceptionally calm and beautiful as it is today.
Where are you now?
I am at the site where they are raising the Ethan Allen presently.
Describe to our viewers what you're seeing.
I'm sorry?
Could you describe to our viewers what you're seeing right now?
Well, there's the boat is being brought into the shore, and they are attempting to raise it a little bit. I don't believe that they're going to try and take it out of the water here. There's not a suitable launch area here, and I suspect that they will probably end up towing it to either Lake George or Bolton, where it would be more, it would just be more of a condition where they could take it out of the water. I don't believe that can happen where it is presently.
In all the years you've been there in Warren County, have you ever seen anything like this before?
No, I certainly haven't. Unfortunately, in the years that I served this as a navigation officer, we have had single fatalities or drowning here and there, but never a multiple like anything like this or any catastrophe like this.
This is a mysterious puzzle. Do you have any working assumptions what might have happened?
Well, my assumption would be that the weight factor is 40-somewhat people aboard, 47 people, probably 8,000 pounds, 4 tons. It's a relatively small boat, probably draws 3 feet, so I would think maybe something attracted a group of people to one side, and it must have turned simultaneously and rolled.
So in other words, if the captain was turning the boat and everyone seemed to sort of slid over or just moved over to one side, that could have capsized it. Is that what you're suggesting?
Well, I think that's a possibility, although I disagree with what I've been seeing about floating portable chairs. The boat that I'm looking at right now, that's partially out of the water, certainly has secured benches. I do not see any of these lawn chairs that they described.
Well, there may have been some of those lawn chairs that fell overboard, and they could be at the bottom of the lake right now.
Well, that's a possibility, but there certainly are secured benches aboard the boat also.
These are very common to do these sightseeing boats in Lake George. It's by no means an unusual situation. A lot of these boats are going up and down Lake George.
Oh, yes. We have many, many boats on Lake George that are tour boats, but this is one of the smaller ones. There are other boats here that are over 100 feet and hold up to 300 passengers. This boat is 40 feet, which makes it a relatively small tour boat.
I want to show our viewers a picture of the Ethan Allen, what it looked like before it capsized. There it is. I don't know if you have access to what you're seeing on CNN right now, Jerry, but it looks like a nice little boat that was got a little cover to protect people from the sun. But I could certainly understand that if you have 47, 48 people on board and everyone sort of gets on one side, that could tip over that boat.
Well, I don't know the naval architectural statement about that, Wolf. I can understand that from an amateur point of view we might think that, but all boats have critical points, and I don't know what the critical weight and balance situation is on that boat. I can also say that New York State, in terms of public vessels, and I do have a public vessel license, is the most rigid state in terms of safety. And I know this boat was inspected in May, and I suspect that all of those considerations are made before they license it for the number of passengers that they allow. And my experience has been that they're exceptionally strict about that in the state of New York.
Jerry, if you could stand by for a second. Tom Foreman is here in the Situation Room with us. He's watching this. Tom, show our viewers once again where this is taking place. And you mentioned earlier what the echoing effect from the sort of geography surrounding Lake George. I want you to explain to our viewers what that means.
Yeah, the place this is happening, you have to bear in mind, a huge tourist area, but really a fairly sparsely populated area year-round. If you fly over the land here, look at this. These are really relatively small communities here. This is along 87, the highway going up that way.
North of Albany.
Yeah, it's going up north of Albany. This is coming into Lake George. That's Lake George right there, the main town in the area where everybody goes to for going out to dinner. You're going out to have some fun in the evening with your kids, that sort of thing. Very family-oriented. Lots of people here. People gather along here all during the summer. There's a beach down in here that's actually designed for people to play on and have a nice time with their kids. You talk about the size of this boat. I want to go in and show you that one more time. This is the same area that the Ethan Allen launched out of, and this is a 40-foot boat. We've measured it from our satellite picture end to end. That's how big it is at the dock. So you see near it, much, much bigger boats are in this water. We talked about the echoing effect, though. I want to go back to Kramer's Point, which is the place in question here. At Kramer's Point, which is where all of this happened, as you move up the lake here, look at the narrowness of the lake. When you have boats moving up and down here, particularly large boats, and I'll move over to this side just a little bit so you can see the other side of the water here.
How wide is that lake?
It's not terribly wide. I'm trying to think of I don't want to make the wrong guess here because it comes and goes.
Maybe Jerry knows. Jerry, do you know how wide Lake George is?
Yes, I do. It's 32 miles long, and it's about, at the widest point, about 3.5 miles wide.
3.5 miles.
Yeah, so as I said, a lot of people, for summertime fun up there, one of the big challenges is let's swim across the lake. And you don't have to be a great swimmer to do it. It's probably not the safest thing to do in the busy times, but nonetheless, it doesn't take a great bit of effort. The echoing effect is this, though. In a narrow body of water like this, if you have a lot of boats moving, or even big boats moving, take a big draft, they'll set up a wave which will go over and hit this shore, and because the lake is so narrow, it will actually bounce off the shore and start coming back out. So if you have a big boat over here, a big boat over here, or a series of them, they can set up wakes that go out, bounce, come back, rejoin in the middle. And I can tell you from being on lakes up here on much smaller craft, sometimes you don't have that many boats on the water on a calm day, and you can still get these echoing wakes, and it can be a little dicey for a moment or two. If you combine that with a boat that's got a lot of people on it, and if, as you suggested, or we were asking earlier, people get drawn to one side of the boat, as you easily could when you're looking at foliage, somebody says, oh my gosh, look at that one here, then you could have a movement which would unbalance the boat. A lot to look at, a lot of factors, but that's what the echoing effect is and how it could play a role.
I'm going to take a quick break, and I'm going to get Jerry Thornell, former navigation officer of Warren County, to comment on that. We'll take a quick break, much more of our coverage right after this.
Let's go, girls.
Go places this weekend at 50% off. Rent Friday to Monday, 50% off. Pick Enterprise. We'll pick you up.
If you're a homeowner and you need cash, call or log on to ditech.com and take the Ditech Challenge. We'll guarantee you the lowest rate and fee and help you to consolidate debts and lower your payments, even if your credit is less than perfect. Call 1-800-80-DITECH.
Every day, America's highly trained and skilled air traffic controllers guide thousands of planes safely. But now, FAA staffing cutbacks mean fewer air traffic controllers are handling more and more planes. Today, there are 1,000 fewer controllers than there were just 2 years ago. And that's a dangerous act. Call Congress at 1-877-FLY-US-SAFE. Tell them that when the FAA juggles staffing, it compromises safety.
What do you know about computers?
My daughter definitely knows how to use a computer better than I do half the time, and she's 3.5.
Hi, I'm John Scher, CEO and founder of Video Professor. You know, I've been hearing comments like that for over 14 years now. Listen to this.
I did the Excel, and it was a lot of fun. I had a real good time. I learned a lot.
The difference? Just an hour with one of my CDs, and they're easy to use. The CD plays like a video on your computer screen. Just follow the step-by-step instruction. If you call now, I'll send you one free. You just pay a small shipping and handling. Well, the reason I'll do this is because I know that once you try my product, you'll come back to us for all your computer learning needs. You know, if you can't learn, I'll even refund your shipping and handling. So, learn a new skill in less than an hour. Try my product.
I think that's the most fun I've had, learning something about the computer.
To get your free computer learning CD, you must call now. Call 1-800-454-9709.
Closed captioning provided by dermatologist recommended Sarna anti-itch lotion.
Are you caught in a vicious cycle of itching and scratching? Get Sarna lotion. Soothing Sarna contains 2 medications to stop itch fast. Suffer no more. Get dermatologist recommended Sarna lotion.
We'll get back to Lake George in a moment and cover that story, that boat that capsized, killing 20 passengers. But let's check another developing story we're following right now. CNN's Zane Vergy joining us from the CNN Center on that plane crash in Florida. What do we know now, Zane?
We're getting more information, Wolf. We know now that that plane that crashed on takeoff from DeLand Airport in Florida was carrying 11 people. They were essentially out to have a good time and to go skydiving. Authorities are saying that there were injuries, but none of them are life-threatening. The Federal Aviation Authority is sending a team from Orlando to investigate this crash. It crashed at about 3 p.m. local time. The DeLand police chief says that the plane had actually reached a height of 250 to 300 feet before it just went down and plummeted to the ground. The pilot, Wolf, is among those that have been injured. He's been taken to hospital. The company owner says that the pilot was actually on his 7th flight of the day and that the weather was really good, and he has no idea what could have caused this crash. Again, though, Wolf, good news that there have been no life-threatening injuries.
Good news indeed. The NTSB will have more to investigate, though, Zane. Thank you very much, Zane Burgee, reporting for us. Let's get back to this other story we're following. The boat that capsized on Lake George in upstate New York yesterday, killing 20 passengers, 27 survived, and as well as the captain, the pilot of this boat. Jerry Thornell is a former navigation officer for Warren County, which is where Lake George is. He's been there for a long time. You heard our Tom Foreman offer this theory about this echoing effect, given the narrowness of Lake George, about 3.5 miles wide. What do you make of that theory that he was expressing?
Well, I'm not a geologist, but I've never heard of a theory like that, and certainly this lake has thousands of vessels operating yearly for years and years and years, and we've never had an event like this. So I really kind of discount that.
What about this theory that the passengers, for whatever reason, all 47 or most of them, wound up either sliding or moving to one side, and they were heavy and the boat simply couldn't handle it and capsized?
I think that has feasibility. And the reality of it is that if you put a lot of people on one side of a boat, you're going to put the weight and balance out, and a catastrophic event, I suspect, could possibly happen. But I don't know that that's the cause, but I certainly think it's a reasonable assumption to look in that direction.
The life vests that are there, the flotation devices, in a situation like this where you literally only have a few seconds to deal with an emergency, how available are they? In other words, you have to open up boxes, or are they you just grab them as you see a situation develop?
In this particular vessel, the life jackets are stowed above on the foredeck. They're above the rail. They would have to be reached for and taken out. It would not be a situation where you could immediately grab one. It would take probably a half a minute or so to grab them. And that's typical on boats, to store them above the decks like that.
Is it typical when you start a tour like this for these 47 elderly tourists from Michigan, and we're looking at these live pictures once again from Lake George, come in, that the pilot explains emergency procedures, sort of like a flight attendant does at the start of a flight? Yes, and
any vessel that sails in this state of New York, from my experience, the captain or the crew member always addresses the safety issues and points out to people where the life jackets are in case of an emergency. And I am fully confident, knowing that the captain is a fully confident person, that took place yesterday also. I was sort of surprised, but correct me if I'm wrong, that there was only one pilot, one professional on board for 47 people. Is that unusual? Well, again, that is a relatively small boat. It's a single screw. It would only require that one person be the pilot, and I don't know the circumstances of the particular company as to what their policy is as to when they would put a second person aboard. But the one person was exactly the captain, and as far as I know, he was the only crew person there, yes. We spoke to the sheriff of Warren County, Larry Cleveland, who knows the captain. We see this boat, this video that we got, how quickly it came up once the flotation devices were there. Do you know the captain? I know of him as a former state trooper, a retired state trooper in the state of New York. But you don't know him personally, is that what you're saying? I don't know him personally, no, I do not. The water is what temperature normally this time of year? Well, yesterday they were telling, and I have every reason to believe, that it was 68 degrees. Which is chilly, but it's not too bad. Could be a lot colder in upstate New York this time of the year. I think it's exceptionally warm for this time of the year here. We haven't had a frost. It's it's a beautiful day today, and I'm sure the water temperature is exactly that today.
How were the 27 survivors rescued?
I think primarily, and almost, I won't say exclusively, but primarily by private boaters who happened to be in the area because it was such a beautiful day. The traffic was possibly more than it would have been on any normal Sunday in October, particularly with football and baseball going on. And there was quite a boating crew out there, and they came to the rescue immediately. And because there were so many boats, that's how they were able to pick up those people, many people.
Do you know, Jerry, if there was a mayday or a siren went off or some sort of alarm, some sort of radio communication announcing that there was an SOS?
Yes, I do know that a person who was in a canoe close to it had a cell phone, dialed 911, and that call went through to the Warren County Sheriff's Department probably within a minute of that boat sinking, and they responded immediately. They did happen to have a boat on the lake at the time, and it was fairly close by. And in a matter of maybe 5 minutes, there were several representatives from the Sheriff's Department and the state police on the scene.
Jerry Thornell, a former navigation officer in Warren County in upstate New York, I'm going to have you stand by. We're going to continue our live coverage of the Ethan Allen, the boat that capsized. It's now been brought to the top of Lake George. It's being towed. It's being towed to the shore. We'll continue our special coverage right after this.
Oh, man, a paper jam.
Paper jam. Get Pam. Get Pam.
I am.
We always get slammed with these paper jams.
Give it a good wham.
I couldn't find Pam, so I got Graham.
Why are we rhyming?
Guys, the presentation will be fine. We've got an easy button.
When it comes to making copies, every business has an easy button. It's called Staples. Our copy and print center can handle any job, big or small, when you need it done right.
Here's a diagram, ma'am.
Staples. That was easy. Come in and get color copies for just 39 cents now through November 12th.
Bringing you the world for 25 years. This is CNN.
This is unbelievable. It's a lifetime. God. We'll make it right, John.
For the past 20 years, I've been their insurance agent. But not today.
Life comes at you fast. Nobody understands better than Nationwide Insurance.
Baseline to baseline. Forehand to backhand. Slam to slam. Nobody covers tennis like ESPN and ESPN2. We're all over the clay, grass, and hardcourt scene. Serving up the top players in the world wherever they play, all season long.
Tennis on ESPN and ESPN2 is brought to you locally by
Pacific Continental. The right back.
What's up with this thing? Somebody left it on. Been running all day. Cool. Maybe we should do something. That's so not cool.
Don't just take a stand. Act. The most powerful way is to simply register and vote.
Comcast. Focused on community.
If the governor knew the right thing to do, he'd put jobs in the hands of Oregonians. If you're going to make a rational decision, you have to look at logic, you have to look at numbers, you have to look at the law. In fact, Oregon's Constitution guarantees that. You don't back down from principles like that.
You don't have to see it his way, but you've got to see it. Have a look into the world of Lars Larson. Weekdays from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. on CNW 14.
Male model and champion athlete with no knees, no elbows. Larry King, 9 Eastern.
These are live pictures from Lake George in upstate New York. We've been watching the lifting of the Ethan Allen. That's the boat that capsized yesterday. Some sort of accident occurred. 40 elderly passengers from Michigan dead. 20 passengers dead, 27 survived, including the pilot. We've been looking at the lifting of this boat for much of this past hour or so. I want to show our viewers some videotape showing at one point how quickly the Ethan Allen actually came to shore once they put these flotation devices in it. You see it there, right there. It's already been lifted. But we have some videotape. We'll rack that up and cue it up properly and show that our viewers how fast it came up from the bottom. Remember, this is 70 feet deep water right there, and these are some of the divers that have been working on this situation. There's the boat right there, the Ethan Allen. Tragically, it capsized yesterday, killing 20 people. Jerry Thornell is still with us, the former navigation officer for Warren County. As you look at these pictures, Jerry, certainly your heart goes out to all those folks from Michigan who died, as well as the survivors. What was supposed to be a beautiful vacation in the fall in upstate New York, watching the changing of the colors, the leaves, and beautiful Lake George in a few seconds turned into this freak accident that we don't know what sparked it. What goes through your mind, Jerry, as you're looking at these pictures of an area that you love so much?
Well, of course, Lake George is beautiful. It is the queen of American lakes, and I've spent roughly 50 summers here, although my permanent residence is in Marion, Massachusetts. But I do spend as much time here as we can. But it is a tragedy. I mean, we like to think of the lake as just being a place for pleasure and not for tragedy. And unfortunately, the waters can turn and it becomes a tragedy.
And as you've pointed out, and Sheriff Larry Cleveland have pointed out, Mark Rosenker, the acting chairman of the National Transportation Safety Board, all of whom have been here, this is highly, highly unusual. We'll continue to monitor this story and check it out. Jerry Thornell, thanks very much for joining us. We'll take another quick break. More of our Situation Room right after this.
As the outspoken sister of Nicole Brown Simpson, Denise Brown was one of the first to talk about the other side of football hero O.J. Simpson. Brown's emotional testimony early in Simpson's trial was unforgettable.
Picked her up, threw her out of the house. She ended up on her. She ended up falling.
After the trial, Brown became an advocate against domestic violence. She currently runs the Nicole Brown Charitable Foundation, which helps battered women and their children.
In educating myself and then starting to travel, I learned about domestic violence. I learned what my sister was going through.
Brown maintains a relationship with Nicole's children, Sydney and Justin, who live in Florida with their father. But she doesn't see or talk with O.J.
I can't stand the ground he walks on. I believe he murdered my sister, and I will always think that.
Brown still wears a silver cross that belonged to her sister.
She's always missed. You know, every single day, there's not a day that goes by that I don't think about her.
And she marks every anniversary of Nicole's death with a candlelight vigil.
I just don't want another person to have to suffer something like we did. And I think that's what drives me. And I know Nicole's with me.
Then and Now is sponsored by Johnson & Johnson. At Johnson & Johnson, we believe nursing is the essence of caring. Log on to CNN.com/CNN25 to read more on where these newsmakers are now.
At Johnson & Johnson, we understand the importance of touch. A nurse's touch is skilled. A nurse's touch is caring. A nurse's touch can touch the world. Nurses, we need you more than ever. A message of caring from Johnson & Johnson.
My business spends thousands of dollars on materials,
on supplies,
on equipment.
So when I heard about a credit card that gives you up to 5% cash back,
I didn't need a second opinion.
With the Platinum Business Cash Rebate Card from American Express, you can get up to 5% cash back automatically with no limit on how much you can earn. Call 1-800-NOW-OPEN to apply.
Cash back on EKG machines.
Cash back on drywall.
On engines.
On computers.
Even pizza.
There's no annual fee and no interest for 6 months. Plus, you'll get the service you deserve from Open, the small business team at American Express.
$640 back. Nice.
The Platinum Business Cash Rebate Card from American Express. Call now for a 60-second decision and start getting up to 5% cash back.
Cash back that goes right back into my pocket.
Welcome back. We'll show you some live pictures from Lake George. They've been lifting that boat, the Ethan Allen, up. They're going to try to understand what exactly happened. That tragic accident yesterday, killing 20 passengers. Susan Lasovich is on the scene for us. Susan, it's been a very dramatic day.
A very dramatic day, but one certainly that officials can be very proud of, because the sun was shining here today in more ways than just literally. This was a very difficult, tedious operation, and at the end of the day, as you well know, they were able to lift the Ethan Allen intact to the surface of the water, a critical piece of the investigation, and one of perhaps the only good things we can say about this terrible tragedy is that when investigators come to the conclusions as to what caused it, that it may never be repeated again.
Susan Lasovich on the scene for us. Thanks very much. We're here in the Situation Room every weekday afternoon, 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern. I'm Wolf Blitzer in Washington. To our Jewish viewers, Happy New Year. Lou Dobbs tonight starts right now. Lou standing by in New York. Lou?
Thank you, Wolf. Good evening, everybody. President Bush today nominated one of his closest advisors, White House counsel Harriet Miers, to the U.S. Supreme Court. President Bush selected Miers to replace Justice Sandra Day O'Connor. On the same day, the Supreme Court began a new session under Chief Justice John Roberts. Miers has a long and distinguished career as an attorney, but she's never been a judge. She has never held major elected office. The president praised Miers' achievements and declared she will never legislate from the bench. Suzanne Malveaux reports from the White House. She'll be reporting on a Supreme Court nomination that caught many by surprise and has set off opposition on both ends of the political spectrum. John King in Washington reports on Miers' record and how she compares with Chief Justice John Roberts. Ed Henry on Capitol Hill tonight reports on the mostly positive reaction from lawmakers so far to the Miers nomination. We begin with Suzanne Malveaux at the White House. Suzanne.
Well, Lou, really now the focus of the White House is to try to sell the president's pick, and of course it is a full court press. Many officials trying to quietly twist arms behind the scenes here. The big surprise is that it may be a tougher sell for Republicans than the Democrats.
It was vintage President Bush in choosing Harriet Miers to the Supreme Court.
I've known Harriet for more than a decade. I know her heart. I know her character.
Aides say the president's White House counsel is someone Mr. Bush can trust, feels comfortable with, who's given him legal advice since his days as Texas governor. Sunday night, Mr. Bush officially offered Miers the job over dinner with the First Lady in the White House residence. Miers was in charge of the search committee established to help the president find his Supreme Court nominee. But White House aides say over the summer, during Mr. Bush's search to fill John Roberts' position, the president began to consider Miers as a possible candidate.
There was a separate process, unbeknownst to Harriet Miers herself, that vetted her and put her through the very same steps that we expect of all of our judicial nominees.
The president had his first sit-down with Miers as a potential candidate 12 days ago. As the president rolled out his nominee, the White House braced itself for the expected criticism, such as the fact that she has no experience as a judge.
Justice Rehnquist himself came to the Supreme Court without prior experience on the bench, and I'm proud.
And of course, Lou, quietly, the same cast of players who have been involved in pushing through the John Roberts nomination also quietly reaching out to those conservatives who are concerned that she does not share their agenda. Lou?
Thank you, Suzanne. President Bush has known Harriet Miers since the early 90s when he ran for governor of the state of Texas. She's been a trusted advisor to the president ever since. John King joins me now from Washington. John, we seem to know very little about her views. What can you tell us about her opinions?
Well, Lou, in many ways, this is a trust me nomination from the President of the United States. As you noted at the top of the show, she has never been a judge, so there is not a judicial paper trail. One thing the White House says, though, if you have questions about her credentials, look what she has done at the White House the past few years, and especially the past 6 months as White House counsel. White House officials say that she's very quiet and reserved in public, so you don't know much about her, but that she has been a driving force behind the renomination of conservative judges like Priscilla Owen, like Janice Rogers Brown, like William Pryor, all judges who have high approval ratings from social conservatives, other conservatives. So what the White House is essentially saying is don't rush to judgment, and they know, as Suzanne just mentioned, their biggest problem initially is with conservatives. They say don't rush to judgment. When you get to know this woman, you will like her. On the issue of abortion, Lou, which is certain to be a flashpoint, the White House says the president doesn't know what she thinks of Roe v. Wade and didn't ask her. We do know that when she was the head of the Texas Bar Association, she lobbied the American Bar Association to drop its pro-abortion rights stance, saying it should have a neutral position. That is one clue, but it is certainly not definitive. And we do know she gave some money and attended a few events for a Texas anti-abortion group. Some social conservatives say, again, that they are convinced she opposes abortion. She is also an evangelical Christian. But again, Lou, the White House says Roe v. Wade, they don't know the answer. They expect it to come up at confirmation.
And how does Myers' record compare with that of the new Chief Justice, John Roberts?
Well, certainly if you match the resumes up, many people would say that Judge Roberts is a more accomplished pick for the Supreme Court. He was the editor of the Harvard Law Review. He went to Harvard as an undergrad. He was on the appeals court, only for a short time, but 2 years on the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals. So if you're thinking traditionally inside the box, even Myers supporters would say Judge Roberts looks more favorably, but they say the president, knowing he had Judge Roberts on the court as the Chief Justice, was able to think outside the box, and he wanted part of his legacy to be that he chose someone who is less conventional, if you will. The president himself noted that William Rehnquist, the late Chief Justice, was not a judge before he went on to the high court. He served in the Nixon administration, just as Harriet Myers has served in the Bush administration. So if you're matching up the resumes, I think most would say that Judge Roberts on paper looks more impressive. Again, the White House is saying that this is a quiet woman, but a conservative woman who in private has a biting sense of humor, doesn't back away from a fight, and can be very tough in making her case. They think she will be a positive element on the court, and they say, Lou, that they have no doubt that a court with Harriet Myers and John Roberts will be more conservative than a court with Sandra Day O'Connor.
A conservative woman, as you put it, but one who also contributed to the Gore campaign.
She did, and that will come up again and again, and the White House says, the Vice President tonight saying that he was aware of that, Lou, and Lou, one of the things that they're saying is that the president was well aware of that, and they say that most conservatives in Texas were Democrats in the 1980s. She gave to Lloyd Bentsen as well. The president says he's comfortable with that. Will that help with the Democrats in the Senate? We'll see.
John King, thank you. Just hours after being nominated to the Supreme Court, Myers went to Capitol Hill to meet leading Republican and Democratic senators. Lawmakers on both sides of the aisle praised her record, but promised to ask tough questions during her confirmation hearings. Ed Henry reports from Capitol Hill.
Lou, there had really been an expectation of a partisan fight, a major battle here, but instead it appears that the president, just as he did with John Roberts, has found someone maybe in the middle who might be able to reach across the aisle and get wide bipartisan support. And Lou, the bottom line is that today we saw a lot of Republicans initially, like Senate Judiciary Chairman Arlen Specter, as well as Senate Majority Leader Bill Frist, express cautious support, at least early on. A lot of talk on both sides of the aisle that perhaps this is a good pick.
Despite her thin record, top Republicans immediately embraced the nomination of Harriet Myers.
Harriet is a nomination that we are excited about. We are pleased with. She has demonstrated her leadership, her character, her integrity in the past.
More telling is that leading Democrats who voted against Chief Justice John Roberts offered cautious praise for Myers.
Harriet Myers clearly has the potential to be a consensus nominee.
I see no negatives at this stage in Harriet Myers.
Myers' biggest boost came from Senate Democratic leader Harry Reid, who first recommended her name to the president.
Just to understand the broad outline of this woman, and the broad outline looks really good to me. Thank you.
In fact, some Republicans think the biggest opposition may come from conservatives, who fear this could be a stealth nominee like David Souter, who turned out to be a moderate justice. But White House allies say Myers' lack of judicial experience will be a plus.
And I think is the kind of nominee that, frankly, would benefit the Supreme Court by providing a voice and perhaps a perspective on the world outside of the Beltway.
Nevertheless, finding out Myers' views on key issues like abortion will be difficult because documents covering her time as White House counsel are likely to be covered by executive privilege. Despite their early praise, Democrats are vowing heavy scrutiny.
Because the president hasn't nominated somebody from the hard extreme, doesn't absolve us of our responsibility to find out what the views of the nominee are.
Expect tough questions as well from the two most conservative members of the Senate Judiciary Committee, Tom Coburn and Sam Brownback. They both today indicated they want to hear a lot more about Harriet Miers' views before they venture any sort of comment on this nomination. Lou?
Ed, thank you. And Ed, if you would just stand by there for a second. This just into CNN. The Associated Press reporting that a Texas grand jury in Austin, Texas, has indicted the majority leader of the House, Tom DeLay, the now former majority leader, again, has indicted Tom DeLay, this charge, money laundering. Again, repeating, Associated Press just now reporting that a Texas grand jury in Austin, Texas, has indicted Tom DeLay for money laundering. Ed, I want to ask you right now, the Republican leadership is in, I think the best construction would be, in disarray right now in the House. What does this do to add to the problems that they now face, and particularly the problems for Tom DeLay?
Well, it puts an even deeper cloud, obviously, over Tom DeLay, but I can tell you I'm getting reaction just now from Tom DeLay's office as we speak, and they're basically telling me that they believe that Ronnie Earl, the prosecutor down in Texas, acted with this second indictment because they believe he had such a weak case over the first indictment that was handed up last week. What they're saying basically is